not be president.
Highly critical, biased text messages between senior FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
There will be no question about the outcome of this election.
And she got ahead of herself. This utterly stunned this campaign.
Head home. You should get some sleep. We'll have more to say tomorrow.
Our constitutional democracy enshrines the peaceful transfer of power.
The peaceful transition of power is one of the hallmarks of our democracy. We want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds.
These declassified documents that were just released.
Officials in the Obama administration were asking for the identities to be unmasked of Americans.
Unmasking of aides and staffers of the incoming president.
The basic charge, political spying.
To disrupt the peaceful transfer of power.
Unmasking of American citizens. It could be a real problem.
Why is it that the unmasking of Flynn somehow ended up in the pages of the Washington Post?
I know nothing about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn.
The vice president said that yesterday, and then the last name on this list is Joe Biden.
The Obama administration was bitter. They wanted to do everything they could to undermine the incoming Trump administration.
Really designed to sabotage and really upend the new administration.
An outgoing president and a vice president and a Washington Post columnist and the FBI setting up an incoming administration. Wow, that's a real conspiracy, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Hey, welcome to the Bill Mason Show, and we want to talk about it. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well. I'm on the deck of the Starship Enterprise. They all unionized on me, and they went on break. But they're still voting Trump regardless of their union membership, just like everybody else.
All right. Did they mail in the vote, or are they going to vote in person?
Well, I'm pretty sure they're going to vote in person, because most of these guys are, really dyed in the wool. When the Federation, went into account, they upheld the Constitution. So, I mean, they're very constitutional people.
Good. So Obama, Joe Biden spying on Trump, and so now the VP wants to become president.
Absolutely, and he is officially under investigation in the Ukraine, listed on the documents of the prosecutor, the head prosecutor of the Ukraine. So what this seems to be, like all of the pomp and circumstance about picking Kamala Harris, who I know we're going to talk about a little bit in tonight's show, it's kind of funny because it is giving the regular media something like a lollipop to suck on, so they don't talk about what's really going on, which is Obamagate. Brennan is about to be questioned, okay, for how he misused the CIA, okay, and what he knew and when he knew it, and whether they withheld exculpatory information that would have gotten all the FISA warrants discontinued. So that's going on. And honestly, Joe Biden being listed as, a prime suspect in the Ukraine, that's also going on. But the regular media will never tell you this because it's all about Kamala Harris. Oh my God, Joe picked a, quote unquote black woman, which she's listed as Caucasian on her birth certificate. So I don't know.
Well, let's take a look at that. I mean, first of all, let's take a look at the announcement real quick for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Let's take a look.
All right.
I came first to know who Kamala was through our son, Beau Biden. They were friends. They served as attorneys general at the same time. They took on the same big fights together. Kamala in California, Beau here in Delaware. Big fights that helped change the entire country. I know how much Beau respected Kamala and her work. And that mattered a lot to me, to be honest with you, as I made this decision. So now we need to get to work, pulling this nation out of these crises we find ourselves in, getting our economy back on track, uniting this nation, and yes, winning the battle for the soul of America.
Oh boy! So they're the ones who've been dividing the country, not unifying the country.
Yeah, that's going to be impossible, going by their current platform, which is $3 trillion in new taxes the first 100 days. That would be a shock and awe campaign of Democratic proportions on most people.
Yeah, not good.
It's not something that I think most people that think clearly are going to accept, but it's almost like Trump has tricked the left. He's really done a doozy on them, getting them to just be opposite anything and everything that he does. Like when Trump recently executive ordered, the $400 additional and the extension on unemployment, you actually saw for the first time in history Democrats going against unemployment benefits and executive orders. Okay, so they touted two things. One, Trump shouldn't executive order. He should have waited for Congress. That's how things work. But meanwhile, back at the ranch when Obama was in power, executive orders went out every week.
Oh, yeah.
Because they never went through Congress. So he's literally made them like twist and turn and go opposite of whatever he says. And he played them in this case, because if they don't now go in and do something, they look like do-nothing Democrats, like Trump has been saying all along. And he's brought to light that the reason that Congress can't agree, and the Senate, is because it's loaded with pork.
Right.
And it's the same thing they did last time. They want an additional $1.5 trillion of pork stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the American taxpayer. So, I mean, reality is that Trump is bringing to light their weaknesses, and they're struggling to have something to talk about that is actually going to benefit the American people. So all they can do is be not Trump, not Trump, not Trump, over and over again. And that's kind of like they brought in Kamala Harris like it was going to light this fire under Democrat voters. And Kamala Harris has more baggage than LAX on Thanksgiving. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
She has so much wrong. She has more wrong than she does right. And I mean, you take in her prosecutorial records, and it will blow your mind. The abuse of power. I mean, honestly, I think why he picked her is because she is just ready to pull the levers, man. She's done that in Los Angeles for, the entire time she was a prosecutor. She prosecuted people that were considered dissidents, people that were going against the, any of her little Democratic cronies. And it's really easy. It's on paper. It's easy to find.
Right.
She's not clean enough to be VP for Joe.
Well, let's take a look at her birth certificate, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here we are. Here's her birth certificate.
Yeah.
And what does it say there?
Oh, look at that. Caucasian. They ruled her Caucasian at birth. And let's see. She was born October 20th. She's a Libra. And see, that looks like Kamala to me, but apparently Tucker took flack. It's Kamala or something like that. Like, you have to pronounce it like a certain way. There's this unpronounced or unshown punctuation, we'll call it. And I think the thing that's redacted is the fact that they're country of origin of the parents. I think neither one was a citizen. It's rumored. Now, like I said, all I see is black lines. Apparently, whoever released this isn't releasing that information, but that's the speculation now that I think people are looking into, that she was basically either an anchor baby of some sort in the 60s, if they even had that on record, but her parents, neither one of them were born in the United States.
Right, and the Constitution states that a parent has to be born in the United States, has to be a U.S. citizen.
Right. So, honestly, I don't know where this is going to go. I'm pretty sure the left will be resistant and be like, here we go again with the birther movement. But it was put in there for a reason. Naturalized citizens and things like that. The furthest you can go as a naturalized citizen, I believe, is, the Senate. And after that, it's president. You got to be born here. I mean, as far as I know.
Right. She was born here, but her parents were supposedly was not.
Right.
One was a Jamaican, one was an Indian. India. We'll see where that goes. I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
I doubt it. I mean, the steam that was behind it at first kind of fizzled out right away. And I think the media is great at that, because the things that really would be powerful and kind of like against the Democratic message, they don't do that anymore. Journalism used to be about let's show the weak points of both sides, and it seems that the Democrats have this giant shield over them that's, you know, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, and all these other people, that they're unwilling to talk about anything that is good, even if it's truthful or factual. They will not touch it.
No, they just like the Veritas videos. They rub underneath the rug. They won't broadcast it. They'll block it. So let's take a look and see what will happen during a Trump-Biden debate. What do you think will happen?
Oh my God! I think Biden would have to read from a script. You know, be telepromptered everywhere, and probably have some sort of shock device on him to keep him awake.
Let's take a look. See what will happen.
All right.
First of all, where do you want to see the court take the country? And secondly, what's your view on how the Constitution should be interpreted?
That's like saying
Hold on
before
just
you got
a
in this
moment.
program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh?
That's the question. Please, quiet, everybody.
You got more questions, but I
hold
tell
on,
you,
folks,
if you have a problem
because
figuring
this
out
is going to
whether
end
you're
up
for
getting
me
out
or
of control.
Trump,
Let's try to
then
keep
you
it
ain't
quiet
black.
so for the candidates and for the American people.
Joe's not all there. It's sad when you look at it and you see it.
I want to thank you both for
My
participating.
wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Now the decision is up to you.
That's probably not too far from the mark. I mean,
That's true.
We may be looking at some sort of presidential debate where, you know, due to the separation or whatever, it's going to be tough for Biden to even hear, right? So I've already heard this play out. So with the separation that's going to be mandatory, Biden is going to say, oh, I can't really hear what's going on. I'm going to need, you know, some additional earpiece in. And that's pretty much the green light to be the feeder for Biden. So somebody could be behind the scenes and be like, don't say that, you know, to protect him. Because, you know, the scenarios have already been laid out that, you know, Chris Wallace, the guy that they showed there being the moderator, which would never happen. They would never let Chris Wallace do it. It'll be some liberal hack that'll be, you know, moderating this thing. That's my guess. But, you know, there's going to be a time where Trump is going to attack him on not only his past, his present, his future, everything. And it seems that when you put Biden up against the wall, he goes right to this thing where it's either, I've seen it with voters, I'll take you outside and show you a thing or two, or he's like, okay, fat, you know what I mean? He goes right to this place where you can't come back from, where he's combative, but doesn't really answer the question. I mean, we played all the videos on the Bill Mason show. The one where the guy asks him a question about the Ukraine and he starts going, because he can't answer the questions. It's as simple as that. So, I mean, this debate, when it does happen, he's going to get blown out of the water. And I already see in the Twitter sphere, people are talking about, well, if Joe gets blown out of the water, Kamala is going to totally destroy Mike Pence. And that'll be just, okay. I mean, they're already letting Joe have a pass for not being able to debate as a presidential candidate. They're already writing the pass.
Yes, they are. I mean, I can't wait for the debate, but I'm afraid they're going to have it like on Zoom or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's either going to be some sort of, you know, teleprompter up situation, or, like I said, the scenario where they're so distant that Joe needs something to hear. He can't really hear clearly.
Right.
Meanwhile, he's getting answered piped into him.
Well, let's hear Trump on Kamala after he picked the vice president. Take a look.
Okay.
She had a lot of things happening, and so I was a little surprised that he picked her. I've been watching her for a long time, and I was a little surprised. She was extraordinarily nasty to Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh then, now Justice Kavanaugh. She was nasty to a level that was just a horrible thing, the way she treated now Justice Kavanaugh, and I won't forget that soon. So she did very poorly in the primaries, and now she's chosen, so let's see how that all works out.
That's what he said. So she was nasty, and she has continued to be nasty.
Sure. I mean, I also had this other opinion about these two, that honestly the DNC doesn't want to sacrifice some of their shooting stars, I'll call them, in the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And they took a guy who was probably should or, kind of retire, and a woman whose career wasn't really destined for anything, and sacrificed them as like this kind of like throwaway relief pitcher to come in and just give up the home run and be done with the game, because Trump is going to win by all intents and purposes. He's sharper, smarter. The only chink in his armor is the coronavirus, which is like, okay, you're going to chalk that all up to Trump's fault and you're going to try to make this stick to him. But the dude's trying to rebuild the economy, and in the places where he can, the jobs are coming back. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, honestly, they are going to, and I predict this too, try to pressure him to lock down in October and November. That's my prediction, is that they're going to pressure him. They're going to have this numbers spike or some kind of thing where it's like, you have to do something and lock it down or everyone's going to die, because that's the only way to pressure Trump. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if it comes down to people-to-people relations and negotiations and doing things that normal presidents do, he is aces. When you have to deal with an invisible COVID enemy, I mean, anybody can armchair quarterback and say he did the wrong thing, clearly, because people died. And I mean, guess what? People were going to die. This flu was whatever. It was pretty badass, and it still is. And people were going to die if he did nothing, if he did something, or if he did everything that he possibly could. There was still going to be death.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, we saw this flu, of course, the Bill Mason called it when it first came out in January.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to hear the news first, the Bill Mason show. But yeah, so I mean, definitely, I mean, they're going to call it, and they're trying to call it a Trump virus, and that's the reason why Trump's calling it a Chinese virus, which it is a Chinese virus.
Right, and it's not uncommon for viruses to be named from their point of origin.
Yes, Spanish
it's not
flu.
Uncommon.
Spanish flu.
It's going on. Yeah.
Did Spain mind it calling Spanish flu? No, maybe, I don't know. But
hey,
that's where it came from.
It's where it came from. It was immediately named, and then once you name something, I mean, it's like a hurricane. Okay, you name a hurricane, it stays that name until it's done.
Right.
I mean, this is going to be. COVID-19 is what the medical people call it, but the rest of the people are going to call it China virus, because that's where it came from. That was the origin, and that's just it. You called Marburg, you called Ebola. There are tons of things that are named either exactly for the region or for something that tied it back to the region, and that's just how it goes.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so Trump had a historic agreement today.
Yes.
United Arab Emirates and Israel made a peace agreement and established ties. So let's take a look and see what happened.
Okay.
Thank you very much. This is very important. This is a big event, and I want to just congratulate all of the people standing behind me, because they have done an incredible job. This is something that hasn't been done in more than 25 years. Just a few moments ago, I hosted a very special call with two friends, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates, where they agreed to finalize a historical peace agreement. Everybody said this would be impossible. And as you know, Mohammed is one of the great leaders of the Middle East. After 49 years, Israel and the United Arab Emirates will fully normalize their diplomatic relations. They will exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the board and on a broad range of areas, including tourism, education, healthcare, trade, and security. This is a truly historic moment. Not since the Israel-Jordan peace treaty was signed more than 25 years ago has so much progress been made towards peace in the Middle East. By uniting two of America's closest and most capable partners in the region, something which said could not be done, This deal is a significant step towards building a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous Middle East. Now that the ice has been broken, I expect more Arab and Muslim countries will follow the United Arab Emirates lead, and I want to just thank them for being. It's not surprising, knowing Mohammed so well, it's not surprising they are in that lead position, and normalize relations with Israel. We are already discussing this with other nations, very powerful, very good nations, and people that want to see peace in the Middle East. So
there we go. So store agreement. So it looks like Oman and Bahrain is coming up next, maybe Saudi Arabia. So it could be a big Middle East deal that's happening.
It seems to me it's a lot of the economic players in the Middle East. Not saying that Iran is not an economic player where they want to engage with the West. You know, it seems as though after this agreement is done, there's going to be a very small, little handful of people that aren't involved in this, and then it becomes with, I guess to sum it up in like terms of Axis and allies, which it kind of seems like it is to me, is that if there is this peace-like, I'll call it peace-like deal in the Middle East, it kind of encourages certain people to say, okay, we were on the fence before, but now if we're not in this deal, we got to be on Iran's side. I mean, that's my opinion. Right.
It's all about Iran, actually, because, you know, Saudi Arabia hates Iran. I mean, this is all about hating Iran. So if all the anti-Iran people come to the table, it's going to make them even madder.
It's going to not only make them madder, but I think some of the smaller Middle East countries, maybe with or without protection in this agreement, are going to end up siding with Iran. Not that it makes a hill of beans when it comes to, you know, the tactical advantages of this country has done tons in the Mediterranean and the Strait of Hormuz and the Indian Ocean. I think our Navy's been more active than it has in like 50 years, judging from, you know, what people say on Twitter. And if something were to need to be done and we have the support of these people and they agree not to nuke Israel, it's really bad for Iran being the rambunctious kind of child in that region right now. You know, it's really looking ominous that they either back down or put up or shut up.
Right. Yeah, it looks like Iran's having some trouble because just about 2 hours ago, we confiscated 4 Iranian oil tankers going to Venezuela.
Imagine that.
Yes, so
imagine that. We're
going to
that.
Houston.
Yeah.
They're going to be docked in Houston, and so we're taking their oil, and we'll see what happens when Iran does.
Yeah, and I forget actually what episode that was. It was a while ago, but we spoke of how that Venezuelan issue was going to become some sort of conflict, right, or, you know, a forced embargo of some sort. But I mean, it was a point where Iran was going to push to the point where we had to do something. I guess this is the had to do something.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I'm sure that's going to escalate things. And of course, we have a issue going on with Turkey and Greece. Looks like Turkey and Greece warships rammed each other. So that could flare up anytime. But we have a video here about the Jews celebrating their agreement. Let's take a look.
All right.
They love Trump.
That they do, and I mean, you know, not to go down, you know, the biblical road, but this is something that is repeated throughout history. Okay, that, you know, the Jews get their land, The Jews lose their land. The Jews get their land. They rebuild the temple. They lose the temple. They rebuild the temple. And when Trump declared Jerusalem, as the capital, they kind of viewed it as, okay, this is, the point in which we're rebuilding the temple again.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I want to say it's good and it's bad when you look at it from that point of view.
Right.
Okay. Because if anybody knows how the rest of the story goes, it of course doesn't end well. But then again, it's been a repeated theme throughout history. This has happened more than once, and many people have called it to be the bitter end of all things. But if this is just a cycle of things, this may be something that it's just had to happen. As far as historic, it plays out over and over again, but it is cyclical. And here we go again with when everybody goes up against Israel, somebody comes to their aid, to help them rebuild. And I think that's why Trump is getting the support from people that are Jewish, and they are finally finding a place where they're like, okay, everyone's not against us. We do have somebody on our side, because I think during the Obama years, he kind of sold them guys out. Oh, yeah. And, the United States was always kind of an Israel supporter. And I think with Trump doing the things that he's doing and trying to even, beat Iran back down a little bit, it helps Israel in the long run.
It does. It does play out the revelation part of that, by the way.
Right.
So, here on earth we lose and then we win in heaven. So,
right.
But anyway, we'll see what happens. So it is playing out. All the sides are picking sides now.
Yeah.
Just like the United States, when Trump became president, everybody is picking sides. We were able to open our eyes, who's bad, who's evil. So that's the same thing going on around the world as well.
I believe that. I believe the veil's being lifted, and there are people that may have been able to retain power for a long time because no one knew what was really going on. And even if Trump is like a sacrificial lamb, a guy who comes in and just gives up his billions and millions and his lifestyle and goes in and takes one for the team and shows the world what globalist politicians are doing, it just plays out in that direction. I'm sorry, I can't not see that.
Right. Yeah, that's what I see too, but we'll see what happens. So we will see you next show. That's the show tonight. Do you have any last words, Bill?
The only other thing that I've been monitoring is that there is most likely something gonna come up in the next few months where these teachers unions are pushing for mandatory vaccinations, and the power in the Northeast region, I can't speak for the whole country, but the power that these teachers unions have in the Northeast is that they are pushing for, if a vaccination comes in, they will not have your children back full time until they are fully vaccinated. They're pushing legislators, and they have the Democrats in their pocket. They are pushing for mandatory vaccinations, and I just want people to be mindful. I'm not against vaccines, but to make them mandatory, I think is a dangerous place to go. And I think the weak spot is going against the parents to get their children back in the education system of some sort and mandating that they get this to go back to school. And it's going to be COVID related. And keep a watchful eye on this, because it's very talked about in the Northeast. But if it wins here and it goes to Congress and it becomes some sort of federal mandate, then it's a problem, because I know some people are not on board with that, with the mandatory vaccination of their child to attend school when it's not something that has been tested over the long haul. People don't want to inject a 5-year-old with a vaccine that was rushed over the course of 60 weeks or 16 weeks or whatever. That's all I'm saying. Be watchful, be mindful, and probably be a little resistant to the mandate of this type of thing.
Yes, definitely. Watch out for that. And remember, you heard it first here on the Bill Mason Show.
Yeah. Oh, and I also want to predict, I got more indication that California may go red. 3 more districts that were blue. The candidates lost in the primary. So I mean, the problem with California is it's always assumed that it's going to be blue, but California is turning, and I'm going to call to this episode because I'm saying it's going to go red this November.
I hope so. With Kamala Harris from California, that would be great if it went red.
What a slap in the face it'll be, because honestly, those people are fed up in California.
Oh, yeah. So, again, you hear it first here on the Bill Mason Show, and watch us again on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you have a wonderful night.
Like and subscribe.
That's right.